Congruent triangles. Similar triangles review. Triangle ABC is similar to triangle PQR means two things. Number one, corresponding angles are congruent. Angle A is congruent to angle P, angle B is congruent to angle Q, and angle C is congruent to angle R. And corresponding sides are proportional. A is to P, B is to Q, and C is to R. Another way of expressing the second idea is a three-way ratio. A is to B is to C as P is to Q is to R. Correspondence review. When naming similar triangles, the order of the letters matters. Here we have triangle ABC is similar to triangle PQR. Therefore, angle A is congruent to angle P because those are first. Angle B is congruent to angle Q because those are the second letters. And angle C is congruent to angle R because those are the third letters. And same with the sides. So the first side, A, is going to correspond with this side, P, here. But you could also say that that's KA because you take a constant of proportionality, the scale factor K, and multiply it by A to get side P. You multiply K times B to get KB, and you multiply it times C to get KC. The scale factor K is a positive constant. It's often called the constant of proportionality. Congruent triangles are a special case of similar triangles. The constant of proportionality is 1, K equals 1, which makes the corresponding sides congruent. Congruent triangles definition. Two triangles are congruent if and only if corresponding angles are congruent and corresponding sides are congruent. If triangle ABC is congruent to triangle PQR, then what do we know? Well, we know that angle A is congruent to angle P, angle B is congruent to angle Q, and angle C is congruent to angle R. We also know that the sides are congruent. So, side AB is congruent to side PQ. We know that side BC is congruent to side QR, and we also know that side AC is congruent to side PR. Remember, order matters as it names the correspondence. CPCTC. The definition of congruent triangles is regularly expressed in the following way. Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent, or simply CPCTC. In the reasons column in two-column proofs, the definition of congruent triangles can be stated in three ways. Examples of the three ways are below. Alright, so it's given that triangle ABC is congruent to triangle PQR. Therefore, line segment AB is congruent to line segment PQ because that is the definition of congruent triangles. Angle ABC here is congruent to angle PQR because corresponding angles of congruent triangles are congruent. And line segment AC is congruent to line segment PR because CPCTC. Given that triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF, identify all of the congruent corresponding parts. Alright, so the first letter here is A, and the first letter here is D. So we know that those angles are congruent. The second letter is B, the second letter is E. So we know that these two angles are congruent. And finally, the third letter is C, the third letter here is F, so this angle and this angle are congruent. Now, the sides that connect those angles are also going to be congruent. So the line here that connects A to C, green to purple, is congruent to this line here that also connects green to purple. So line AC is congruent to line DF, line FE is congruent to line CB, and line AB is congruent to line DE. Alright, and here we see that we are correct. Angle A is congruent to angle D. They both have 2 arcs. Angle C is congruent with angle F. Those both have 3 arcs. Angle B is congruent to angle E with 1 arc there. And the corresponding sides are also congruent.